Welcome to Nerdschatting, movie, TV, comic chat. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome everybody to the Nerdschatting podcast. My name is Nate, and with me today are these two ruffians. One I just found in the gutter, JB, and the other
Hi.
one at work, working very hard. So
Is he?
Yeah. Ben.
Unusual?
Hello, lads.
Hello, Nate. Hi,
lads.
James.
Hi.
How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
How's the head?
It's been better.
You were out last night, weren't
Yes,
you?
I was, yeah.
You're a dirty stopper.
Yeah.
During the week as well.
I know, that's why I had today off.
Yeah, true.
Love
So, we are Nerdschatting. We talk about movies, TV shows, comic books, all things nerdy. And this week, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out. Ben's seen it. We want a very, very brief review from you in a minute. But because of that, we thought, we at Nerdschatting, we don't shy away from the big questions.
We do not.
The really big issues. The
Yeah.
the issues that people want to ask, but they're too afraid to.
They are
They're too
afraid.
embarrassed to.
Yeah.
And so, with that in mind, we're going to ask the biggest of those issues.
Tell me.
Should Spider-Man have mechanical web shooters or organic ones?
So you couldn't even get that right. The question I asked on Twitter was, should Spider-Man have organic webbing or mechanical web shooters? So it's the other way round. So can you do it again, please, and
No,
cut this
hang
bit
on.
out?
Yeah, sure. I'll edit it in later. Yeah.
Of course you will.
I don't understand. Web shooters or webbing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Ben, what did you think of Spider-Verse? Into the
Into the Spider-Verse. It is the most comic book film I've ever seen. So if I can take you back to the early 2000s.
Hang on, are we doing a Wayne's World?
Oh, wow.
So Ang Lee directed Hulk with Eric Bana.
We don't
Good
speak
few
about
years
this.
ago. I know, but he tried to do something with that movie that made it very much like a comic book. The most funniest thing in the world just happened. You just put the string from your
My
Chamomile tea
into my mouth.
How very British afternoon we are.
Anyway, carry on. Ang Lee Hulk.
Ang Lee Hulk.
Because there were panels. The cuts, the edits were with panels, like
That's
comic
right.
panels, right?
And it didn't really land. I admired what he tried to do.
Yeah, I think most comic book readers went, that's interesting. But most people who went to the cinema who don't read comics went, oh, that's weird.
However,
It was a bit weird.
There you go. See.
yeah, sure. However, with this film, with the animation style and how it plays out, it's done really, really well. They introduce all the different spider people in the same way, which is really, really cleverly done. I didn't realise that the voice of the first Spider-Man that you see is Chris Pine, Captain Kirk.
All right. Didn't know that. No.
I didn't know that.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for Spider-Verse. Dies.
Yeah, I figured there would be some. Is it Peter though?
Yes, it's Peter Parker.
Right. So how come Nick, whatever his name is, that comes in? It's not Nick. It's the guy that's called Nick in New Girl.
New Girl,
What's his
yeah.
name?
He
Jake.
is Peter J. Parker, I think, or Peter B. Parker. Doesn't matter. He's a different Peter Parker, basically, from a different Spider-Verse. And you know what? It's really, really, really well done. The middle act is a little bit sluggish, and the animation style for Wilson Fisk's Kingpin is absolutely ridiculous. But on the whole, I had a great time, and I give it 4 Spider-Men out of Infinite Spider-Verses. There you go.
For me, the biggest positive I can get from, I haven't seen the film, but the fact that Miles Morales is the star,
Yeah.
the main character,
Yeah.
is great, because I think he's a great character. He's been around a long time now in comics, and he's not known necessarily in the wider cultural, social spectrum.
It's so well done. It's brilliant. It gets you in the feels at times. The Prowler's in it, and he's terrifying.
Yeah. That's his uncle.
There's great music.
Miles' his uncle.
Is the Prowler?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But see, because there's a twist there, see, because Peter's uncle dies, great power and responsibility, but Miles' uncle is a villain.
Wow.
So it turns it on its head.
Spins it.
Yeah.
That's got a slant. It's got a slant.
Wow.
So what it feels like is this was Sony doing an animated version of the Ultimate Spider-Man, basically.
Yeah.
With some Spider-Verse stuff thrown in. And you know what? It was really good. And what they didn't do, I don't think you could have made this film as a live-action film. I don't think it would have worked. Whereas in an animation style, the one that they did, all the different spider people have different animation styles. One's like a cartoon pig. One's like what is it, like a... Anime, that's it. What's my kryptonite? Anime's my kryptonite.
Yeah,
It's like an anime sort of Penny Parker with her spider robot, and it's just It's clever. I think if you took the time to go and see it,
Yes,
I think you would really enjoy it.
I absolutely am.
I think
looking
you'd
forward
like it as well,
to
Jamie.
seeing it, but I don't think I'll get to see it at the cinema. I might do
That's
it, but
fine.
I doubt it because I'm seeing Aquaman tonight.
The final
Mic drop. Look at that.
Yeah.
the final big fight that takes place sort of in the middle of a super collider where worlds are merging together.
A super, pardon me.
Super collider,
Right.
where worlds are merging together it was almost too much.
Because it's already bright lights and colourful.
Yeah, and
lines
it sort of took that, dialed it up to 11, and went, "Hey, let's take this sucker up to 111."
Right, okay.
So it was, it's not perfect, but it is a very enjoyable movie.
Were there any knife lasers?
Knife lasers.
There were no knife lasers.
Next time I see a knife laser, I'm just going to text you guys, no matter where I am.
Yeah.
Right. Even if I'm in the middle of the cinema, I'm just going to stand up and scream knife laser and text you guys.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. The stars in this, there's loads. Haley Steinfeld, you've got Zoe Kravitz, John Mulaney, Nicolas Cage.
Hang on, who's Zoe Kravitz in it?
Liev Schreiber. Zoe Kravitz is Mary Jane.
Oh!
Chris Pine.
Yeah.
You've got loads of people. Jake
Yeah.
Johnson, Shameik Moore plays Miles Morales. It's just a great cast.
It's
Great
really
cast.
well done.
Yeah.
Really well done.
So
For the non-comic readers, does it tie? Do you need to have a little bit of comic background?
I think if you have background on this character, you'll get a lot more out of it than the layman who doesn't. But the layman who doesn't will still enjoy what they're seeing on the screen.
Right.
Whereas someone who's knows a little bit about the background of the Ultimate Spider-Man and what happened there with Peter and Miles, and there's also slight nods and winks, like people when they're scrolling down to call someone, like you see. Sarah Pacelli's in there.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay, yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, Sarah Pacelli was the artist on Ultimate Spider-Man when Miles Morales started out. It was Brian Michael Bendis wrote it.
Brian Michael Bendis is in a call
Right,
list.
okay,
So
okay,
Steve
so-
Ditko, so Stanley. The Stanley
okay.
bit in it as well was. It would have been poignant anyway, but with the fact that it was in there and
Yeah.
he had passed away, in the feels, it's good. James
James gonna sneeze.
No, I'm not.
No, it's
Right.
not. It's just
Hashtag
saved it,
poison
saved it.
sneeze. No, but I ultimately I had a good fun. I had a good fun time.
Ultimately.
Thank you.
Ultimately,
Yeah, nice.
whilst
Thank
you
you
were
very
in the
much.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, very good. So, excellent. Well, that leads us nicely into some questions I have for you
Certainly.
in this film.
Oh, okay, right.
Do any of the Spider-Men have organic webbing or mechanical web shooters? Yes, is the answer.
Yes, they have either one of those things.
Right.
I don't think anyone has anything that's organic. Although, very interestingly, this is, again, slight spoiler for Spider-Verse. When the Spider-Man that you follow and you start and say, okay, let me break this down for you. This is who I am. I've been Spider-Man for 10 years and I'm this and that.
Jake Johnson one?
Yeah. No.
Oh, the Chris Pine one.
The Chris Pine one.
Yeah.
He says, and I also did this. And it's a scene of him walking down the street doing the Spider-Man 3. Hey.
Oh, the
Oh,
stupid
no.
guy.
Hey,
Nice.
I'm
I
but he
love
goes,
it.
but we don't talk about that. So it's like, that's how it ties it all in. And then
Right.
they kill him.
I like it.
Great.
Cool.
I like
That was a
done
really embarrassing part of that film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It-
The whole film was fairly embarrassing, I'll be honest.
It was, yeah.
Such a shame. Conversation for another day that we've had many times before. Anyway, right, Nate,
So,
take us on.
So, the big questions, as I was saying, shooters, web shooters. So the question, I've got a few questions on here. I'm going to throw them to you guys, and we're going to get serious about this. We're going to get real serious.
Do you want to do the poll result? Will that feed into the discussion? Do you want to do that at the
I
end?
think we can. Well, why don't we put it in the middle?
Yeah, put it in the middle.
Why don't we put it in the middle?
Sure.
Let's put it in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that we planned ahead there. and
Yeah.
No one can see behind the curtain.
Exactly. It's like, we're editing this bit out. We're never editing this bit out.
So, Spider-Man, is he better being a super genius who can make web fluid and web shooters, or is he better being endowed with organic abilities to produce webbing and everything else that comes with it? This is the real crux of the question about organic web shooters, organic webbing or mechanical web shooters. It's a very dumb nerd question, but it brings it back down to the character. How relatable is that character? How interesting is that character? What do we want from that character? How does he interact with his world? How do we interact with him because of that? And it's a reductive way of doing it, but that's what we're asking, really.
Pardon?
So, which is more interesting? A guy that is a down on his luck, Parker luck type guy that we know and love, who struggles to pay his rent, meet up with his girlfriend, keep his aunt happy and see her all the time, be in two places at once. He's got to save the city, but he's also got to be over there for his date that he's desperately trying to get to because he doesn't think any girls fancy him. Lo and behold, all the girls fancy him. Is that character more interesting as a super genius, or is he more interesting as someone that accidentally or not has powers bestowed upon him?
Okay, so the only way I can liken this is to the cinematic versions of the character that we've seen. Mm-hmm. So in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, he was a gifted science student,
Yes,
won science awards, and could potentially have become a science genius, science whiz kid, but he just happened to have organic webbing. So I think in that one they they played it both ways. He didn't create his web shooters, but he had to learn how to use his webbing.
but then any hero has to learn how to use their new powers.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, but are we saying that if he wasn't bit by a spider, he would be a super genius and he could create his own web shooters anyway?
Good question. This is part of it.
So what's the point?
So the powers that he has, the powers that he gets then, if you take away the webbing, is he has the spider sense.
Yeah.
He can stick to walls.
Yeah.
He is super strong.
Would you say he has all the skills of a spider?
Yes. Very similar to a spider, you might say.
But then my point about that is that yes, you have the skills of a spider, but as a spider, if you were to have a battle, I'd say, I don't know, you create your web and you're catching stuff, and there's a fly, you can take a fly on.
Yeah.
Then you can take on a wasp, but they're a bit stingy. They've got a bit more power than a fly.
Sure. What point are you trying to make?
I'm trying to say is that how much can you take competition, should I say, being just a natural spider and using your spider powers? Do you see what I mean?
So he needs to have the super genius element.
If you had a spider and a scorpion, like go toe to toe,
Yeah.
who would win?
Well, the Scorpion was created with the bit of help of J. Jonah Jameson, the Scorpion in the Spider-Man universe.
I'm talking
because
about
the
the
Scorpion,
animals.
the Scorpion is the natural predator of a spider.
Right.
So J. Jonah Jameson was like, well, okay, we're gonna defeat Spider-Man. We're gonna create the Scorpion. He'll take Spider-Man down.
Yep.
Of course, lo and behold, they gave it to a guy. It was Mac Gargan, wasn't it? It was a Scorpion.
Mac Gargan.
Gargan. Yeah,
Gargan?
What did I say?
Garden?
No, I didn't say Garden.
Okay,
Play
fine.
the tape back. No, I didn't. Okay.
Rewind.
He wasn't he was like an everyday guy off the street. He wasn't a super genius. He wasn't a super villain. He was just kind of a nobody, wasn't he?
I think he was like a...
Like me, yeah.
I think he was like a low-level crook.
Low-level crook, fine, okay. So he wasn't a
'Cause he's-
super
he's-
genius villain or anything like
He's
that.
in Homecoming.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, that's
He's got
right.
a
Yeah,
scorpion
yeah.
tattoo on his neck or something.
Yeah.
Is that the one right
Or
there?
his foot,
Is
or
that-
his face,
No,
or
hang
his
on.
bum. I don't know. One of the two.
Anyway,
Is
listen.
he the one in jail?
Yes.
Yes, he does end up in jail. I think, ultimately, I've said that word again. Ultimately, I think Raimi. Okay, so one of the key things that you have when Peter Parker's got mechanical webbing is that webbing will eventually run out.
Yep.
And it'll always run out at the wrong time, like mid-air swinging
Well, it's a plot device, right?
in a fight. Yeah, it is a plot
it's
device.
designed it's so that you can go, right, well, he's fully equipped for this fight, but then you can write it so the fight goes on so long that he's run out, or he's just come from a fight and he's...
So then can't he just use his organic webbing?
Well, he doesn't have organic webbing.
It doesn't have organic webbing
He
if he's got
has-
mechanical web shooters.
What?
Yeah, so he doesn't... He has one or the other.
You can't have both.
No, you can't have both.
Is that impossible? Is
not
that
impossible,
really
it's
is that a really silly thing? Because why wouldn't you be able to have both?
Well, I suppose...
Am I being really stupid?
No, not at all.
In the
You're asking
comics,
an honest
so
question.
he has mechanical web shooters for, like,
Forever.
50 years, maybe.
Right.
And then Sam Raimi made Spider-Man, the movie,
Yeah.
and they decided to give him organic web shooters, and then they wrote into the comics that he had a level up moment in 2004 where he kind of mutates into this giant spider. It goes really horribly wrong. This woman's sort of it's called the Queen. She initiates it, and he's trying to battle this woman, and he starts over time, over months, he starts to go strange. He has weird like headaches and things,
Right.
and then Captain America comes and helps him, and then eventually
I mean, he turns into a
He
spider.
literally, he gets
Oh my
like his
God,
8
how many eyes
eyes,
he's got?
and then he rips it, like all his suit rips open, and he gets extra arms. And there's been loads of stories where he gets extra arms, but this
Right.
one he actually turns into a spider. It's like hairy. And then he goes missing for a while, and they find him cocooned in the basement of this place. And the spider body that he's turned into, it starts creaking and cracking, and it just smashes open, and Peter comes out of it all naked, leveled up, Metroid-like leveled up.
Really?
And he's got additional. I can't remember. He's got some sort of additional spider sense where he's got, I don't know, precog, some sort of precog work, so he can see in the future. But then he has also organic webbing. And he's stronger, and he's kind of. It was their way of writing in. Oh, like you want him to be like in the movies? Oh, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, right.
And that's how they did it. Wasn't there also a version? Someone tweeted us about this. Wasn't there also a version where he mutated into that spider, but then laid an egg, and that egg was himself?
Yeah, that's kind of what happens.
That's
That's sort
okay.
of what happens there, and there's the storyline called the.
I know. Comic
yeah.
books, James.
Can
comic
I just
books.
say, someone's been smoking a lot of stuff to be writing that sort of gear,
But-
you know what I mean?
But there then was an event a few years later called Brand New Day, and it tied into Civil War, and
Civil War is where he announced himself to the world as
Peter
Yeah, I know,
Peter
I've read it.
Parker
I've
and
read it.
Spider-Man.
So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
so,
of course you
so
have.
yeah,
But thanks so, because I'm not always there, so
And
I
some people
appreciate
listening might not
Civil
be
War.
aware.
Yeah.
he Peter obviously is known to the world. He's revealed his identity in Civil War, and then something happens. I think Aunt May is injured because of it, because they know who he is, and he makes a deal with the devil, literally Mephisto, the devil, to have the knowledge of him being Peter Parker removed from everyone in the universe, but the only agreement is that Mephisto wants to take his happiness. So it resets Peter Parker where he's married Mary Jane and he's happy and he's got a life together. The entire world is reset so that he's not married to Mary Jane anymore. They dated as teenagers and then drifted apart in the new world.
But Peter
But
retains
Peter
all the
retains
memories.
all the memories of everything that happened.
That's tough.
Aunt May's safe and fine, and no one in the world remembers who he's Peter Parker. Not even the heroes who knew before.
Wow.
And then this thing starts happening where he goes to the Avengers because he's an Avenger, and they're all like, "Oh, hey, Spider-Man," and everyone's kind of looking at him like, "Sure, I used to know something about you, but okay, it's fine. I trust you." And then he pulls his mask off, and they all go, "Oh, it's Peter," and they all suddenly remember that they know him. So if he reveals himself to people,
Yeah.
they then get the memories back.
Oh my God.
So it was a massive event, and actually, the politics behind it in the real world was that Joe, what's his name, the editor-in-chief at the time, Joe,
S something.
yeah,
Doesn't matter.
he never liked the character of Mary Jane, and he wanted to write her out of the storyline. And the story goes that that's what happened. He decided that in order to get rid of her, they had to make a deal with the devil and rewrite the whole world. They couldn't just have them get divorced because God forbid that ever happened to any lead main character.
Spoilers, that's what happens in Spider-Verse.
Oh, right, okay.
Peter, overweight Peter, who's
Yeah.
Joe, what's his face from
Yeah.
the new girl?
Jake.
Jake.
Yeah.
He and Mary Jane separate.
There you go.
Anyway,
So
sorry, carry on.
and what happens? Sorry, the point I was getting to in the Brand New Day event, he then has mechanical web shooters.
Right.
So it goes back, it resets.
So I've made a massive assumption. So thanks for the backstory because that was really quite interesting.
No, that's okay. It's a good point.
I made an assumption that it wasn't one or the other. He'd have both.
Yeah, no,
Because-
yeah,
Because in terms of again, I always go back down to that lowest level. As a spider,
you would have that.
I can enhance myself to have different types of web, I guess.
Well, and that's the other thing. With the mechanical shooters, again, it's plot device. It's all for plot. He can make a parachute out of them because he can open the field up so it sprays wider, or he can make it the finest, thinnest, strongest, tensile
Yeah.
strength, or he can make it so that it lasts for hours or minutes. So he can do all sorts of things with it. With the organic
Electric
stuff-
webbing, like he has
Yeah,
in Homecoming. Electrified
yeah.
webbing, yeah.
So with the organic, it's kind of more. You get the idea; it's a bit more magic.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, well, I'll just think it happens.
Yeah, yeah. So the mechanical web shooter is the plot device that it can run out, or he cannot afford to be able to make any more because he doesn't have any money because he hasn't been to his job because he's been busy saving the world.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to do that same thing when you have organic webbing. So the way that Raimi did it in the films was in Spider-Man 2, he was having such a rough time in his personal life as
stopped
Peter
working,
Parker
didn't it?
Yes.
that he had like a mental block
Yeah.
and it just stopped working. I thought that was a very creative way of doing that. His webbing wouldn't work for him, or his sticking to the walls wouldn't work for him because he was having like a very stressful time in both of his guises, and it just stopped. I like that.
It's nice, but it's also frustrating.
Because it just comes back.
Exactly,
As well.
and it's the thing we've talked about it before, James, with like The Flash, the TV show. It's frustrating as a viewer when you watch something. You watch someone who has shown great abilities, and that's the charm of them, that they can do those things, and then they forget they have that power.
Yeah.
That's really frustrating as a viewer, because you're like, well, you've just shown me that he can run through time.
Yeah.
And you've just shown me that he can fire like a whirlwind,
out of his
lightning bolt.
arms or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
it is.
Yeah. So don't forget that he can do it. Because
Yeah.
if I watch him having a fight, I'm like, well, why don't you just do the whirlwind thing? 'Cause that would work.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, exactly. So it frustrates me when that happens in TV shows and movies. And I think the same thing is true of Spider-Man 2. It is good storytelling.
Yeah.
Because it's emotional and you can understand what it's like to have, problems in your life.
His ghost uncle comes back and talks
all
to
that
him.
sort of
And,
stuff.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, but he's just doing it to himself. So,
Yeah. Okay. If I had to ask you the outright question, do you prefer organic?
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Organic or mechanical web shooters?
Yeah.
What would you say? What were your answers? James is eating, so I'll ask Nate.
Mechanical.
Sure.
Because I like that he's a super genius.
And that is the most obvious way to show that he's a super genius by him developing mechanical web shooters.
Yeah, and because I think I like my heroes to be big and bold and bright and
Have pockets everywhere.
Yeah, no. we all know.
Pocket Man.
Yeah, we all know that like Superman is my favourite.
Sure.
So I like that godly type character. So Spider-Man is relatable in lots of ways, but I like it when he can stand toe to toe with Reed Richards or Tony Stark and be like, well, hang on, I can figure that out.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that he's the underdog because everyone thinks, oh, it's just Peter Parker, he's down his luck. But actually, no, he is a super genius.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across like that in Homecoming, though,
No,
does it?
and they don't do it in the films at all.
Because he's very much he's a bit like a comedy character, or sorry, that's not right, like a young boy.
He's slapsticky type.
Yeah, just sort of, and so he looks up to Tony Stark, and Tony Stark's the one that gives him the suit and everything.
But that's because the MCU has been created around that Tony Stark is the ultimate genius. Now they've introduced Wakanda as having technology that outreaches Stark's technology because of the vibranium whatever. I think Stark will sort of fall down the pecking order a little bit, and you might start to see a smarter Peter Parker maybe take what Tony Stark's given him, what S.H.I.E.L.D. may give him in Far From Home, and develop it a little bit further. I think we will get Peter Parker, because he developed his mechanical web shooters before he met Tony Stark.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tony Stark may have refined them with his suit upgrade, but he had already developed them, because when he meets Tony Stark for the first time, Tony goes, okay, well, I'll just tell your aunt, and he whips him and says, don't tell my aunt, and grabs him back and yada, yada, yada.
But go on.
I just want to say that every time this is great for radio, isn't it? Every time that Ben does web, he does the fingers.
Yeah.
Every single time, it's like that. I mean, we're covered in web right now.
Yeah.
In a minute,
You're covered in my mechanical webbing.
Like, sorry, I'm just making me.
That's
joke.
fine.
But you're right. It is shown that he is a super genius to some degree. He's a slapstick character in that he sort of can't web swing well and falls into walls and things. But the first time you see him in, it's not Civil War. It's Civil War.
Civil War's the first time you see him.
He's picked up like an old VCR or something, or a DVD player, and he's going to rework it. He's going to fix it. He's going to build it. So. You'd like to think that a 15-year-old kid probably wouldn't necessarily have those skills.
Yeah.
Your average Joe, let's you say. But he's got a room full of technology that he's rebuilt, repurposed, or done some work with. So I think that does show up in that film.
So I think I prefer mechanical web shooters as well. However, I am absolutely fine with the organic webbing as well. I think I understand why it happened for the film. I think when the script was originally written in the 90s and it was going to be done by Terminator, James Cameron. I think he originally came up with the idea of the organic webbing because he didn't think that a high school kid would be clever enough to create webbing, web shooters, that sort of thing.
Well, that's the very crux of what we're discussing here.
Exactly,
whether he could or not.
Yeah. So whatever, James Cameron didn't believe he could, so thought it would be, like you were saying, James, it would be more natural if he took on the powers of a spider, that he also had organic webbing. So instead of it coming out of his butt, it comes out of his arms, fine, whatever. I did it again. I did the flip hands.
Yeah.
But also, and I think this is something that maybe people don't think of, but I certainly made this link in my head. Might be wrong, but I'm just doing it. I think it was easier for the studio in 2001 when it was filmed, released in 2002, to have him with organic webbing because we'd had X-Men and X-Men 2, and those guys had natural powers that people just believed.
Sure, okay.
They didn't have any... Okay, so Cyclops has got his visor on, but it was just... Everyone had these powers that had just evolved. So, okay, Spider-Man didn't evolve with these powers. He was bitten, and then those powers sort of were given to him. So I think it was easier for them to go, do you know what, we'll do a little bit like the X-Men, he gets bitten and those powers just evolve and they're given to him. People will accept that, they won't worry about the mechanical web shooters.
Also, the source of his power in the Raimi film is supposedly more up to date. It's about genetic modification.
Yeah, not a radioactive spider.
In the original telling, it was about the greatest fear that we had in the 60s was radiation and the nuclear war and all that sort of thing. So, that we had in the 60s. Like I was there.
I wasn't.
No.
And I'm the old...
Ben was there.
Yeah, Ben was there.
Yeah. So
I wasn't alive.
But that's another thing is he gets his powers from going to a science expo.
Yes, he does.
He is a science nerd.
Yes,
so
he is.
It's intrinsic in him, you know.
Yeah, oh, sorry, James.
No, go on. I really struggle with the mechanical bits because if he is as a genius as he is, then why didn't he? He doesn't need to have spider powers to do it. He could just do it. So why would he not? Why would he have to make mechanical ones? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, if he was.
If I'm a super genius.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want to be making mechanical.
So what you're saying is that if you were bitten by a spider and you were given the power set that a spider has, it would be natural that you would also have organic webbing. That's what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, I would. And then if I felt that my natural webbing wasn't good enough and I was super intelligent, I could make some more. But if I wasn't bitten by a spider, would I ever think about...
I see.
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
So he was super genius. The reason he comes up with the web shooters is because he's a super genius. So ignore that he got bitten by a spider.
Yeah.
He could have been a superhero anyway, just with his skills. He could be Iron Man.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Oh my god, it's taken me a while to get there.
Yeah,
thank you. I feel like I was talking in Chinese or something, but thanks to my interpreters.
I feel like your legs were stuck in mud and we were digging it away.
Yeah, we were. I was like, help me, I've got quicksand. That's what I'm trying to say. Thanks, sorry about that.
And that's a fair point. That is a very fair point because...
He would just be Iron Man then, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but we do think of, definingly, we think of Spider-Man as swinging through the buildings.
Absolutely, and climbing buildings like a spider.
Mm-hmm. So, with this small
crawling...
with this small crawling,
wiggle wild.
Does that work through shoes?
Apparently, yes.
I don't like it. No, I don't like it.
So you just wanted to come out your wrists?
No, the sticking to walls thing.
Oh,
right.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like...
How does it work is what you're asking.
How does it work?
Okay.
Because I get it with the gloves.
Maybe we should put some shoes on a spider and see what happens.
Yeah, good idea.
Get like a huntsman. Anyone? I'm really scared of spiders.
Yeah, I'm not really keen.
I don't mind buying the shoes.
Right.
Oh, but I'm left with putting the shoes on a spider.
Yeah.
I'm good, thanks. I don't know how it works. My guess is, again, I'm going back to the Raimi films. In the Raimi films, he looks at his thumb and he goes right in close and you see those... It's almost like barbs. Barbs come out of his skin, and they're so small you can't really see them. So my guess is that when he's got his shoes on, he uses the barbs on his fingers to stick to the walls. But because he's so strong, like he's got so much strength in him.
I know what you're talking about.
And bearing in mind, Spider-Man is one of the strongest comic book characters there is.
He is actually. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Even stronger after he has the other moment and
becomes a spider? What becomes a spider?
and
Then
it hatches from a spider.
Right.
Yeah.
He is like
he's Nails.
he could, in theory, go toe to toe with the Hulk.
Shut your face.
He might not beat him.
I love it. You're like you don't want to believe, but at the same time you kind of do a little bit.
I come back to top trumps. I'm not joking. Hulk is the strongest in top trump cards.
Yeah.
Sure, but he could go.
It's
He
still
could
great
go.
power.
I think years ago, Marvel's Marvel online database had like a power set of all the characters, and it's sort of almost like top trumps, and it talked about their strength rating, and the Hulk's was like, well, it defaults of like 100 is like his maximum setting. But as he gets more and more angry, it gets more. Mm-hmm. And the only other character I can remember that had the same 100 default strength was Spider-Man.
Wow. I didn't know he was that now.
So Spider-Man could go toe-to-toe with the Hulk. He might not win, like I say, but he is supposed to be that strong. So my guess is, the point I'm trying to get to, is when he's crawling up a wall, he's so strong, he can just push against the wall with his feet. And because he's stuck there with his hands...
Okay.
Now, how it works through his onesie... No idea. Absolutely no idea at all.
But there's a
Maybe
funny...
it's so fine that the finger bits, or it's so fine on the finger pads that it just works.
Maybe. That must be what it is. And I imagine that his onesie, he doesn't have anything on his feet. He just has his socks of the onesie. Because there's a funny panel, it's from many, many years ago, when he hangs out with the Fantastic Four, but for some reason his suit gets dirtied or something. I can't remember what it is. So they lend him a suit, but it doesn't have a mask. So he has to put a paper bag over his head. and he's jumping, and he hasn't got the web. Oh, has he got the web? I can't remember. But he's jumping across a rooftop wearing like Johnny Storm's Fantastic Four blue outfit with like bare hands and bare feet and a paper bag over his head. It's one of the funniest panels ever. But like in that, clearly he needed his feet out to walk up the walls. You know?
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse does something very different to that. That's all I'll say.
Well, now I want to know.
Yeah, he's teasing. You've given us other spoilers, so why are you not giving it? Just blurting it out.
In Spider-Verse, both Peter J. Parker or Peter B. Parker, whatever he's called, and Miles walk up a wall, have a conversation whilst walking up a wall, wearing shoes.
And do they explain it?
Nope.
You don't need to.
It just works. Comic book science.
Don't like it.
Just works.
Don't like it. So, okay, so going back to the webbing, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah. So we've talked quite a lot about mechanical and him being a super genius, and that's...
Did we find out if James prefers... I think
James
James
is
prefers
more
organic, right?
So going with that. So...
I prefer both. I can't have one or the other. I want both.
Right,
but
okay.
anyway.
Get off that fence, James.
So,
I'm off.
if it's organic, is it supernatural? Or is it more like a mutation? So what I'm getting at, is it more Doctor Strange, it can come out of his hands and just forever come out and it never runs out? Or does he have to eat a lot more food? Or does the food that he eats affect the webbing, how sticky it is? Or, does it...
That's interesting.
And what's the source of it?
I would say...
Does he have glands in his arms that do it?
Yeah, well, he must do. I would say it's not supernatural. I mean, if I were explaining it, I would say that he has to keep up the strength and dexterity of his webbing, he has to retain a balanced diet.
Right. So what happens to the real spider? Can that run out of webbing?
I don't know. Why don't you ask a real spider?
I was thinking that. I should have...
If only we had some way of finding out.
I know, exactly.
Shall we fiddle for a bit whilst dipshit
No,
types
absolutely
in?
not. Yes.
Yeah.
Though, I wonder, when does a spider get tired?
I don't know.
We should...
What kind of question is that?
I want Sir David Attenborough to come into this podcast and tell me more about spiders.
All right, well, now, look, we all know that Wikipedia is the ultimate source of all information.
It's all truth.
Yeah.
Webs allow a spider to catch prey without having to expend energy by running it down. Makes sense. That's the point
sure.
of webbing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not to actually swing across the rooftops.
But it does make you go
Yeah.
fast.
Thus is an efficient method for gathering food. However, constructing the web is in itself an energetically costly process because of the large amount of protein required in the form of silk. So they do have to consume a lot of protein to have that much silk.
So Peter Parker's basically on the protein shakes.
All the time.
And he's on it.
If he's got organic webbing,
So he doesn't have extra web pellets, he has extra protein shakes.
So
exactly.
He just pulls out
I'm running a bit low on webbing, I better down this protein shake and I'll be back up to
45 minutes, I'll be fine when I've digested it.
Can everybody just stop fighting?
Yeah.
Let me just eat this.
Got the rhino knocking over like the Empire
just
State, and he's
stop.
like, just chill out, man.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I think I prefer the mechanical, because you can just kind of get your head around it a bit more. Like he has a certain number of pods of webbing that he puts into his web shooters, and
off he goes.
Off he goes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he controls it with a little dial, and JB's just giving me this I don't like it face.
Well, I don't like
as
it.
much as I hate to reference this film because it's not a great movie, in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, he creates his own webbing and mechanical web shooters.
He does.
Yes.
In the Amazing Spider-Man 2, when he goes up against Electro's electricity powers overpower his webbing and makes the capsules explode. So he has to think a way to work it out, to come up with a way to make his webbing not react to the electricity in that way. Now, he almost gets it, but ultimately, is that wording ultimately? What the hell's going on?
Don't worry about it.
Gwen Stacy, in that movie, gives him the final solution to actually make his webbing charged in a way that it won't explode when it comes into contact with Electro. So again, that's him using his brain, but he wasn't quite clever enough in those films. He had to have Gwen Stacy sort of figure it out for him in the end.
But also, wasn't his web... Right, this is going to be wrong, but there's a whole... I haven't seen the second one, but there's a whole story about his parents that runs through the first those two movies.
Yeah.
And doesn't he develop the web shooter from, like, schematics from his dad or something?
I can't remember.
I'm sure it is that. I'm sure it's like he's not the genius in it. I'm sure it's that the Parkers are the geniuses. And
I can't remember. I cannot remember.
He obviously figures it out, so he's got to be quite clever. And he, there's the Kurt Connors
I think he
storyline.
does create the web shooters himself.
I
know
think
that
he does.
it's revealed in the second film that the power set that he gets from the spider that bit him just so happens to merge with him so well because his dad's DNA lives within that spider.
Yeah.
So it merges with him almost perfectly and gives him the powers of Spider-Man.
Wow.
Yes, bit.
Far-fetched?
They cancelled those films, James. That's all I'm going to say.
No,
They did not make an Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Oh, wait, okay. So Peter came across the webbing technology that he was going to use as Spider-Man when he entered the Biocable Development Unit in Oscorp Tower,
there you
where
go.
he was also granted his spider-like powers.
So he sort of stole the designs.
Yeah.
That makes sense because Oscorp sort of designed all the villains in the Amazing Spider-Man universe.
So
they
he's not
created
that intelligent,
Electro.
though. He stole someone else's idea.
I think there's a lot about those films which get him wrong.
Yeah.
In
So
lots
should
of
we
ways.
erase them?
Yeah.
Should we maybe we'll just turn into spiders, be reborn again,
Yeah. And
and
then
then
travel
forget
through
everything?
time?
Yeah. Don't even know.
No.
Adam, go.
Have we reached the point in the podcast where I read out the results of
absolutely.
the
Yes,
we must
100%.
the poll?
Yeah. We're well over halfway, even though we teased we would be halfway on this one.
Sure. Okay. So
What a tease.
your tweet, latest week, the idiots from Nerdschatting are going to tackle one of the biggest issues of our time, #podtease, and it was a gif of the Amazing Spider-Man, is it the Amazing Spider-Man TV show?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I
give
think
that.
it's just Spider-Man. I think it's just
Doesn't matter, whatever it is, it's a Spider-Man cartoon.
Great cartoon from the
So,
90s. Spider-Man cartoons. That really did.
It was good.
It really did cement my love for that character.
I think I watched it.
You've probably seen some of it without realising. But anyway, I then asked a simple question. Should Spider-Man have organic webbing or mechanical web shooters? I can tell you that 38%, which is an awful lot higher than I thought it would be, said organic, and 62% said mechanical.
Yeah.
And we had over 330 votes.
Not bad. See, everyone was like, "What a stupid question! Why are you asking that?"
It was like that.
Everyone.
Oh, everyone.
Yeah,
All those
everyone.
guys.
Yeah.
Apart from the 300 odd people that voted.
But that's my point.
What
It's
is
not a stupid question,
No.
or is it? And maybe it is.
No, it's not. I mean, we've just been rabbiting on for how long about it? I don't even know.
There were an awful lot of people who then replied to the poll and said, mechanical webbing because it sort of shows Spider-Man's smarts and how clever he is and that sort of thing. There's way too many to read out. I want to read out a couple.
All right,
all right, just a couple.
Yeah, okay.
Ben from X Geeks I am Zav Agno. I always butcher that Twitter handle. I'm
Doesn't
sorry,
matter. Hi,
Ben. he replied with one of the funniest gifs I've seen, and he said, "I'm too indecisive. I may have to flip a coin." And he put the gif of Mr. Burns looking at ketchup and catsup.
Yeah.
It was just so cute.
I love that.
Love a Simpsons reference.
Ultimately, I don't actually know which one he went for. I'm going to say he went for mechanical.
Yes, and we'll stick to that, and he can't prove otherwise.
Yes. Jay Sandler Writer, which is at Jay Sandlin Writer, said, "No
Hi,
real
Jay.
preference. Either way is the right way. There's an entire Spider-Verse out there. I like how the mechanical web shooter shelf is science aptitude,
Yeah.
so obviously. And then just for balance, I'm let's see here. Jim Bob Squarepants. He said,
Nice that you prepped this, Ben.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Jim Bob said,
Slick.
why highlight his intelligence? The whole story is based on him being a human spider, not just a highly adept engineer. Much prefer organic, and love that Raimi went with that. Highlights his mutations, which is essentially what the entire character is based on.
Yeah.
Go on.
He is always right, Jim Mossberg.
Right, yeah,
Absolutely, always right. Great point, well made. I mean, that's what I was trying to say when I was dribbling on for
Stuck
about
in
20
the mud.
minutes.
Yeah.
Stuck in
But
the
no, I
mud.
think that's right. I think what he's saying there is more relatable as just a guy that gets those powers and then uses them for good, as opposed to a guy who we're supposed to relate to, but actually could build an Iron Man suit if he tried hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I still like the mechanical
No,
shoes and what it then leads to. Because he makes all his suits, and there are loads of different Spider-Man suits, and he has like stealth suits, and he has he sometimes there was one storyline where I can't remember why he had to get rid of Spider-Man, and he had to come up with these. He came up with these 4 other types of characters that he built the suits for, and he just became these other superheroes.
Oh,
and then they
yes.
went off, and someone took those suits, and they became a team of people. But he was them to begin with. So I like that he can come up with these new things and have, I like that he's clever enough to do that,
He is, yes.
to overcome his enemies with technology.
There are quite a lot of clever superheroes.
There
though,
are, yeah.
So,
Well, a lot of the ones that Stan Lee created in the 60s, well, they've got to be a scientist.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
got to be this and that.
yeah. So, a prerequisite of being a scientist. We're
Yeah.
not going to be superheroes, are we, gents?
I am a superhero?
Are you?
I
Spoilers.
swoop in and save the day in the job that I do. Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
So that's probably a good place to end the discussion.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So next week we are having our Christmas party.
Yes.
And we're recording it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're actually going to edit it properly. You said the words, so I can
I
read them
know.
back to
I
you.
don't
know.
really know what edit properly means.
Well, see, what I normally do for listeners and you, JB, is we normally say something stupid at the beginning, and I'll put that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I'll chop off any guff at the beginning and chop off any nonsense at the end, and then just stick the whole file in.
Right.
It's a conversation, you know.
Right, yeah.
There's no editing out the ers and the clicks and the and the racism, the casual racism which sometimes happens on the podcast.
Oh my God, don't say things like that. No, it doesn't, people. No, it
I was
doesn't.
going to say, when does that happen?
No, I'm saying I don't.
We're not
edit
Chelsea
it out.
supporters.
So
Edit point.
What I will do is for the Christmas meal is I will edit it properly so that it flows nicely and there's no pauses and we don't hear each other munch our food. JB's been eating the whole way through.
Unbelievable.
Sorry, just put that in
So,
the bin.
Ben, where can people find us?
On Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, search for Nerdschatting. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts.
What?
Yeah, you heard me. And also
I
available on
don't even know what this
Podbean
is. What?
and Spotify. And also on YouTube. Again, just search Nerdschatting. I think I said YouTube already. Doesn't matter. Outlook.com / No? What the hell am I talking about? Nerdschatting at Outlook.com.
That's it, yeah.
It's all going wrong today.
Mate, you need
Actually,
to get
you
a
were supposed to be
script.
doing this today.
No.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, you were.
Oh my
Not-
God, you absolutely
No.
were.
Yeah.
The true story was, I said I would do it if Ben had prepped me to tell me what
True.
I need to say, and I
True.
would probably deliver it in a much more professional...
Not at your state today, you wouldn't.
No, I don't know about that. Wow, what are you trying to say?
I'm saying that you're a little bit delicate.
Oh, I'm not that bad. Maybe I am.
You see it in your eyes. You're begging for a cuddle.
Oh, are you?
Should we end it?
Yes, please.
Please.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.